everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And this is an emergency podcast or
Woo-hoo!
emergency YouTube video, depending on how you're watching or listening to this.
And it's good news.
It's great news. The Carolina Panthers have reached an agreement with Taylor Moton, right tackle. He has signed a 4-year, $72 million extension as of just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Jerry, as you know, and as all the listeners know, we did a podcast last week basically talking about, is Taylor Moton worth $20 million a year? Is he worth being essentially the highest paid right tackle in the league? Didn't quite get to 20, but pretty damn close.
Yeah. 18 million a year, 43 million guaranteed, 1 year less than Ryan Ramczyk's deal.
Mm-hmm.
I really like this for Carolina. I really like this for him because he's only 26. By the time this will end, I think he'll be around 30. You and I were discussing off air whether or not if this is tacked on after the franchise tag or if this is 4 years, including this year. Not quite sure how that boils down yet, but it's great because around 30 years old, he's going to be up for another contract. Good for him, because if he continues to play the way he is and the TV contracts hit the salary cap and expected to go up close to 100 million from what I've read, he's going to get another quick payday. Look at Trent Williams. I mean, he's 32, 33, and he's getting paid 20 something million a year. And
true. Yeah. I mean, Trent Williams is a left tackle, so they're considered more valuable in the league for various reasons. And again, if you guys haven't listened to our Is Taylor Moton Worth $20 million conversation, we had Jason Hewitt from the Pancaked podcast on with us, where they talk all about offensive linemen. He, a former offensive lineman himself, had a lot of good insight into that. So check that out. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a great deal for the Panthers. Obviously, the glaring weak spot on this team is offensive line, and he is the lone bright spot on that glaring weak spot. So
absolutely, he's like a good diamond, in a bunch of river rocks.
I mean, if we didn't have him, our feelings on the offensive line would be, I mean, they're already pretty low, but they would just be depressingly low. I mean, it would be, Sam Darnold would have no shot.
I think PFF had our offensive line around 30th, like second to last.
It was somewhere between 27 and 30. It was real low.
And they have Taylor Moton as one of the top tackles in the league, top 5 or so.
So there you go. and it's not just PFF. It's like everybody has the Panthers rated very low offensive line wise. So it'll be interesting to see with, him making now he's the highest paid player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
He is the highest paid player on the team, our right tackle. So it'll be interesting to see if they leave him at right tackle or if they think that he can play left tackle, and maybe that's why they paid him as much as they're paying him. Again, this is a guy who's never made a Pro Bowl, never been an All-Pro. We talked about it, probably a function of the fact that the offensive line and the Panthers in general haven't been very good since he came into the league. But to be considered one of the best guys at his position and to never have made the Pro Bowl, it's doesn't really match up, but he is widely considered one of the better ones. So
again, I say this with offensive linemen, you don't know their names, and a lot of people only choose guys that are winning, and the Panthers haven't been winning since he's been good. So
his name's out there now.
Yeah.
His name is out there now to all the media folks and anybody that may not pay attention to the Panthers closely. They know who Taylor Moton is right now. So I imagine that if he has a year, even as good as last year, that he'll be recognized as one of the, for the program.
Not only that, if you look again, I'm looking mostly at PFF because they grade offensive linemen pretty well, and I can't go back and watch all tape of just Taylor Moton. Sure. But every year he's been getting better and better and better. Right. And that's what you want to see from a second round pick, and this is a reward for a guy playing hard and producing. I think this is the best thing for Scott Fitterer and Matt Rule to do, because they really haven't had to do this yet. They've been dumping all these salaries. They haven't had the time or the player that comes up saying, hey, this guy has really produced for us. We have to reward him. Because otherwise, players are going to get a hold of that and be like, why am I going to produce here if they're just going to let me go?
Yeah, and this is just kind of piggybacking off that a little bit. This is something that we haven't seen from the Panthers in a while, where they
Mm-hmm.
sort of, a lot of these homegrown talents that earn these big deals, they're getting them from other teams. They're not getting them from the Panthers. McCaffrey got his
Mm-hmm.
recently. Now Moton's getting his. Maybe this is a sea change for the Panthers, where we're keeping these stars that we're building
Mm-hmm.
from rookies. We're keeping them on the team, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's what we've always wanted.
That's what we really wanted. I mean,
Yeah.
Going back to what I said on the last podcast, we let James Bradbury walk, and now he was a top cornerback of the league last year, and we had to draft a corner top 10 pick.
Yep.
So if you let these guys walk, you have to find the replacement. And usually in the draft, you don't find those replacements unless you go early.
Right. And again, with the offensive line in particular, it's so decimated that you honestly had to do this, because you're not going to fix it in one off season. You're not going to fix it next year, getting a guy of Moton's caliber. And this is what we talk about. Like, you get rid of these guys with these big deals, and Bradbury's a perfect example. You get rid of Bradbury. Now you've got to take the number 8 pick to try to bolster your corner back room, when you could have just kept Bradbury.
Could have kept Bradbury.
And then use that 8th pick on Justin Fields, or, somebody that really transforms your franchise.
Or trade back if you could get a couple first round.
Yeah. Yeah. So in this, now that this is done, right? We didn't think this was going to get done. Even like an hour ago, reports were that they were talking, but it didn't seem like anything was going to happen. So this is kind of surprising, but now that it's done and you see the numbers, do you feel any differently than you did? We were all on board with paying him $20 million a year. Are you still confident that was the right decision?
Like I said at the very beginning of this recording, I think this is a great deal for Moton, and I think it's a great deal for the Panthers.
Yeah.
The salary cap's going to continue to go up. Taylor Moton's going to continue to play well, hopefully. And, at the end of this, he's going to be able to get another contract. Offensive linemen, especially when they're good, they continue to play to 34, 35. And, Taylor Moton's only 26 right now.
That's 100% true. Yep. I'm interested to see what the numbers look like when it gets broken down year by year, where the out is for the team. I'm going to assume it's probably going to look something like the Ramczyk contract, where, after like 2023, there's a team option, or not an option, but you can cut them for, hardly any dead money, $5 million or something like that. So on our next podcast or video, we will kind of break that down. I'm sure it'll be out by then. But what's next for the Panthers? Like, who's the next guy that you feel like they need to lock down? Is it Dante Jackson?
No, I think Dante Jackson.
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore would be above Dante Jackson, in my opinion. DJ Moore, I would say go ahead and do. I feel after the way he's produced, the past few years with bad quarterback play, how can you not want him on this team for the future?
Yeah, agreed. I think they could do Dante Jackson. I think now would probably be a pretty good time to do Dante Jackson, because if he has a huge year this year, then that price skyrockets. I know it's too late to do it now. The deadline's passed, but that might be a good idea to lock him down before he hits that Bradbury level.
But is he worth to lock down? He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to continue to produce at a high level.
If you can lock him, if you could have locked him down for $4 or $5 million a year, a 4-year, $20 million deal or something like that, I think that's worth it. He's at least average when healthy, if not above average. He played well last year when he was healthy.
No, I agree. He did play well. I'm playing devil's advocate to you. Sure. Unfortunately, the Panthers cannot re-sign everybody, as there is a cap. It's not, basketball where there's really no cap.
So getting back to Moton, do you expect to see them try him at the left side? We drafted Brady Christensen, who, probably is not a left tackle in the NFL.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm fine with trying it. I 100% think we honestly should, because Irving hasn't been able to work out anywhere else. So I don't expect him to really come in on his third team and become a franchise left tackle.
Right.
So
Earlier today, Darian Newman, aka David Newton of ESPN.com, and I found this funny that a lot of folks on Reddit and Twitter are calling him different names, starting with DN, because nobody nationally seems to know who he is. But he said something about that the Panthers might not want to sign Taylor Moton because they should focus on left tackle, and they drafted Brady Christensen, who should be able to step right into right tackle and take over for Moton if they lose him next year. So yet another incredible incredible theory by David Newton, our
yeah.
favorite Panthers beat
Oh,
writer.
I just don't understand, man. Like, he seems to get everything wrong, and he seems to hate the Panthers just in general. It's really odd. It's odd that
So
the ESPN has him.
yeah, it's weird. Speaking of David Newton, he did just tweet this out. So the 4-year average of 18 million a year ties him for 6th among tackles. So this is left tackles or right tackles.
Mm-hmm.
With Lane Johnson and Colton Miller also making 18 million a year. So he's tied with Johnson for the second highest paid right tackle. So the deal that Ramczyk got was 19.2 million, as we talked about last week. So he does come in right behind Ramczyk. I'm a little surprised that they didn't, and they probably did push, obviously, to
Yeah,
become the
the
highest paid right
highest.
tackle. But I'm a little surprised that he didn't hold out for that,
I mean,
especially if he believes that he should be.
again, I'm going to go back to that. He can probably get out and have another contract after this. And it's
Yeah.
hard to say no to $18 million a year, $43 million getting it put in your bank account today.
Listen, I mean, would I turn it down? Of course not. But
I
so
mean,
Ramczyk is 27 years old, so they're right around that same. They're around the same
yeah,
age and the same. Of course, they play the same position. So um, interesting. I mean, Ramczyk, of course, as we talked about, he has made one Pro Bowl, so he does have that sort of on his resume that Moton doesn't have. So maybe that's the difference.
yeah.
He's got that sort of recognition.
I, I don't know. I'm just glad they wrapped this up, because I was going to be very annoyed if they let him walk, because that just seemed like a no-brainer to go ahead and get him signed up.
Agreed. Yep. I mean, so now he's locked down. I think this is the last year of Paradis's contract, who is our second best offensive lineman,
Mm-hmm.
our center. So that's going to be a massive point of free agency next year, or the draft. You're gonna have to do that. Center is very important, and then left tackle, I assume, is going to be just as, if not more important. The guards, I feel, are okay. We've got decent guards here, especially if Christensen can turn into a kind of a top tier guard. That would be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's even with this amazing signing, and we're so happy about it, there's still so many questions on the offensive line.
So many questions. I mean, this is still a patchwork offensive line.
Yeah,
We
this does
just
not
have a
solve
piece
the
for the
problems.
future on the right side, maybe left
Right.
side, and that's it.
Yeah, I still
But
think Fitterer and Roll did a piss poor job of addressing the line this offseason.
I like the guards that they picked up. I just don't think we grabbed the left tackle that we need. I think Christensen could be a guard or even another right tackle. I don't know if he'll be able to step up and become a left tackle in a franchise. And from the way Matt Rule is talking, they're not even going to try. Then we have the Alabama kid, I can't think of his name, and David Moore, undrafted free agent. I like those signings too for guards.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
it?
and then we got the guy from last year that was on the team,
John Miller.
John Miller, who I thought played fairly well last year.
Mm-hmm.
He was at least average. So
Yeah.
the guards, I think, are they're not stellar, but they're not the problem.
No.
With the left tackle is the major concern this year, And then next year, as we said, Paradis is gone. So you got to figure something out there. But yeah, we'll see how Moton plays. I don't expect him to be someone who gets his money and then sits back on his laurels. Like you said, he's still young. So he's still got that second contract to play for, or third contract to play for now. So I would expect him to still play as hard as ever.
I do too. And this is a guy who went to like a AA school or NCAA subdivision, whatever they call it nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, Western Michigan, he played his heart out there. He got drafted in the second round because he went to Western Michigan. He came here. He played a bunch of different positions for the Panthers and has started all the time. You don't hear him really being out that much. I agree with you.
He hasn't been out at all. He has played every single game that he has been eligible for.
So I don't expect him to get his money and run. I think he's going to be that linchpin that's going to be there. So,
yeah, thumbs up from us.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah.
I think this is the signing that Fitter and Matt Rule really kind of needed to do, like I said, for morale in the locker room as well.
Yeah, this is a big deal, and not only for the locker room, but for Panthers fans. Like, give us something to be excited about. Give us a reason to hope that these guys that we are rooting for 3 or 4 years aren't just going to go to the next team because the Panthers aren't willing to pay them. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is great. This a new era.
Real quickly before we sign off, I just was on Spot Rack, and they do a calculated market value, and they are not updated with his current extension. Mm-hmm. And his calculated market value is $19.8 million per year, 5 years, $99 million contract. So
which was number one for right tackles.
Yeah. So if you go through
if you go by that, it's a bargain.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, all right. Well, let's sign off. We'll be back next week to kind of discuss this a little bit more once we have some of the pertinence, and I guess we'll have a few more surprises in store. Training camp. Yeah, training
around
camp
the corner.
Up. So, man, football season. What is it? It's 1 month away today, right? And from the first preseason game.
Yep.
Something like that. Yeah. So exciting. It's almost here. It's almost here. All right, everybody.
We want to thank everyone for listening. If you like our show, please let your friends know. If you want, please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. And if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at meowmixmailbag@meowmixpodcast.com.
We'll be back next week. And until then, everybody, take it easy and keep pounding.